Greetings everyone, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album War. You may be asking, Pete, it's Sunday. What are you doing giving us a Classic Album War on Sunday? Well, I'm going to be away actually for a couple days up in Boston, Massachusetts on a quick little business trip. So I won't be able to deliver you any of these shows tomorrow or Tuesday. So I figure, why not give them to you on the weekend, right? So you got these things to chew on and watch over the weekend, okay? When you're all off anyway. So today, I'm going to pick two albums that, to me, are classics, all right? To the general public, they might not be. To the general music masses, they might not be. But if you're a Deep Purple fan, okay, these two bands and these two albums came from the Deep Purple family tree. These were both debut albums by two guys that were basically booted out of the band in the late 60s, okay, with the coming in of Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. So we're talking about Rod Evans and Nick Simper, okay, ousted from Deep Purple. What are they going to do next, right? Well, in one case, Nick Simper, he put together a band called Warhorse fairly soon after, whereas Rod Evans waited a couple years, dabbled in some things before hooking up with another bunch of guys to form a supergroup called Captain Beyond. So, of course, we're looking at these self-titled debuts from both Warhorse and Captain Beyond, 1970, 1972. Two really cool albums. And, you know, judging by the poll on the Facebook page, I'm guessing there's a good amount of people that are not really that familiar with either one of these, or maybe the Captain Beyond, but definitely never heard the Warhorse. So if you haven't heard either of these, I definitely think, either go over to our Facebook page. I've got links to both the full album plays on YouTube of both albums, or you can simply stay here on YouTube, go Google it, or, you know, do a search and pull up Warhorse 1970 or Captain Beyond 1972. You can listen to the whole album, see what you think. If you haven't heard these albums, you're really missing out. And if you're a Deep Purple fan, you gotta love both of these groups. So let's go one at a time. So let's start off with this one from 1970, released in November 1970 on the Vertigo label, of all things, right? Okay. And so, of course, we got Nick Simper on bass. We've got Ashley Holt on vocals. Many of you might know Ashley Holt. He sang for Rick Wakeman's solo band right around a couple short years after, right? When Rick was doing all of his grand concept solo albums, what have you. We got Ged Peck on guitars, Mac Poole on drums, and Frank Wilson on keyboards, okay? So what do we have here basically in this album? Well, if you love, I mean, what's really interesting about this album is, like, you would think, you know, Nick Simper, fresh off of Deep Purple, you know, the music that Deep Purple was making at the time where he and Rod Evans left was a little more kind of psychedelic in nature, a lot of cover tunes, okay, some pop stuff, a little bits of classical. Well, it's almost as if Nick was, like, kind of secretly listening to the In Rock album that was released, you know, right around the same time, and decided to basically do the same sort of thing. So this album is full of heavy rock assault, all right, with the crunchy guitars and Hammond organ and the lead vocals just screaming over the top, okay? A lot of great tunes on here, you know, Vulture Blood, No Chance, Burning is great. You got the cover of St. Louis, and then the Happening Ritual, Solitude, and of course my personal favorite, Woman of the Devil. That, you know, the bookends of this album are fantastic. You know, Vulture Blood and Woman of the Devil. Killer stuff. Again, if you love those kind of great grooves, heavy Hammond organ, heavy guitars, high-pitched, you know, vocal screams, fantastic stuff. Let's see if we can get you a little look at the booklet here of this, or the reissue, the remaster. All right. Okay. There's the guys in the band right there. A fantastic album. They would release one more album, which was probably equally as good, okay? And then the band would kind of split up, and that would be it. The two releases, okay? But a fantastic debut. Really good. Like I said, if you love vintage Deep Purple, there is no reason at all why you should not be listening to Warhorse. All right, so over on the other end of the spectrum, okay, we've got an album called Captain Beyond by the band called Captain Beyond. All right, and this actually probably sales-wise, this was released on Capricorn Records. Kind of a strange choice, right? Because Capricorn were most notable around this time and throughout the 70s for having a lot of Southern rock bands, you know, the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker Band, so on and so forth. So, but a very cool album that, again, has a lot of that Deep Purple vibe, but with like a little added element of psychedelia and lots of progressive rock. A lot of people cite this as one of the first progressive metal albums. Not really a metal album, but you can, you know, the complexity of the music, okay? And it's hard rock for sure, but a lot of prog happening here. So in the band, of course, we got Rod Evans on vocals. You got Larry Reinhardt on guitars from Iron Butterfly. I was going to say Atomic Rooster. From Iron Butterfly, you got Lee Dorman on bass, also from Iron Butterfly, and Bobby Caldwell on drums, who played with Johnny Winter and band. Who else did he play for? Hold on. So he's played with all sorts of guys. Johnny Winter and Saints and Sinners. Well, he played on the Saints and Sinners album. He played drums with Rick Derringer. Okay. Who else? Armageddon. That's another one. Cactus. You know, so Bobby Caldwell's, he's been around. So in a way, this is kind of a super group. You know, you got XD Purple, Iron Butterfly, Johnny Winter, Armageddon guys here. So the tunes on here, pretty fantastic. More tunes than on the other albums. So you got the classic Dancing Madly Backwards on a Sea of Air, which is a fantastic song. Then you've got, you know, Armworth, Myopic Void, which is fantastic. Mesmerization, Eclipse, Raging River of Fear, love that one a lot. And on side 2 of the original vinyl, you got kind of like the 1,000 Days of Yesterdays, almost like Sweet, right? Frozen Over, 1,000 Days of Yesterday's, Time Since Come and Gone, I Can't Feel Nothing, Part 1, As the Moon Speaks to the Waves of the Sea, Astral Lady, As the Moon Speaks, Return, and I Can't Feel Nothing, Part 2. Kind of that whole second side of the album basically is like almost like a big long suite. Really, really great stuff. Both of these albums, and very accomplished for, you know, 2 new bands, but a lot of, you know, really formidable players in both. So it's no surprise that both of these knocked it out of the park. So what do I think here? I mean, I love both of these albums a lot. I really do. So it's a close battle here, but, you know, ultimately, the Captain Beyond takes it for me. Because I think while this is fantastic and this scratches like the Deep Purple itch in me, because it's very similar to that whole kind of like in rock Fireball era, Machine Head era Purple, all right? There's something about this that was just really, really original and really different. I mean, that's what I love about this album so much. It's like, there's nothing like it, okay? That definitely, these guys were like, I hate to say ahead of their time, because they were perfectly in that time period where kind of cool stuff like this was coming out, but no other band sounded like this. And I think Rod Evans, as a like hard rock vocalist, this was like his coming of age party. Because although you may love those first 3 Deep Purple albums, you know, he was more kind of coming across like a crooner on those first 3 Deep Purple albums, all right? And, you know, the nature of their tunes, it was more, you know, doing a lot of covers, some psychedelic stuff, some pop, and Purple at the time wanted someone who had a little more balls. Well, you know, he showed his balls on this one in a big way. Great vocals on here, killer guitar work. The rhythms are real intricate and complex. It's just a really, really cool album that I think for me takes it in this battle. But it doesn't really matter because both albums are great. And like I said, if you haven't heard either one of these, or both, or if you haven't listened to either one in a long time, go and do so because they're both absolutely fabulous. To me, they're classic. All right, both of these albums are classics. They're more of kind of like unknown classics, underground classics. You know, this one obviously a lot more notoriety than this one, but this one is definitely worth your time if you have not heard it. All right, so got a unanimous decision here from Captain Beyond, a spirited fight from Warhorse all the way, but in the end, you know, 116, 112, 116, 113, 115, 111. Captain Beyond takes it. There might be a knockdown or 2 along the way, but in the end, I just think it's a little bit better of an album. It's a little more original of an album, but they're both seriously kick-ass. And if you're a Deep Purple family tree lover, you, I'm sure, are in agreement with me that both of these are damn fantastic, right? So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube every damn day. We won't be for the next 2 days, but we'll catch up with you guys on Wednesday. Also, make sure you check out our sister channel, Comic Book Geezers, all right? I'm wearing my Silver Surfer t-shirt today. One of my favorite Marvel Comics characters. I do that show with my buddy Wild Bill. We are both classic comic book aficionados. We love Marvel and DC stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, you know, all the classic stuff. And it's basically a talk show where we show off a lot of cool books from our, you can see they're all in the boxes up there. All right. That's all my stuff. We show off stuff from our collections. We sometimes have guests and do interviews on the show, and we do all sorts of themes, different kind of shows. So if you love comic books, want to see some cool covers and some really vintage issues, and here are us talking about why we love these books and all the little intricacies between the plot lines and who the artists were and all that kind of stuff. That's what we do. So check it out. Go on our Facebook page for Sea of Tranquility today and vote for your favorite of these two albums. Or like I said, if you haven't heard each one of them, go out and listen to them and then cast your vote. Let us know what you think here in the comments as well. Again, nobody's right or wrong. There's no real winners or losers here because they're both really cool albums. This is just an excuse to talk about two kind of related, maybe sort of albums and just kind of revel in their greatness once again. So we'll see you real soon, guys. See you in a couple days. You never know. You might hear from me while I'm up in Boston. I might just surprise you. But we'll see. Take care. Bye-bye.